I've personally been offered drugs at parties by my friends or people I know, and they've never really pressured me into taking them, and I've always said no and tried to stay away from it as much as I can.
ড্রাগ আজকের দিনের সবচেয়ে বড় সমস্যা হয়ে দেখা দিয়েছে যুব সমাজের মধ্যে।
Weed, cocaine, there's a lot of things that are drugs that people get on that they think that they can't do without.
What we need to do as parents, we need to make sure that the children are aware where the bad things are. We have to advise them, we have to direct them, we have to do our utmost to influence them not to get involved.
So how would you feel if I were to take drugs as my parents?
Well, it would not only just affect you yourself, it would affect us as a family. It would affect everybody, his friends and so on.
The problem with drugs is quite a growing one. There's a lot of use of cannabis, but there's also growing problems with things like heroin, cocaine and ecstasy, which has seen some of them, certainly ecstasy as a party drug, as less harmful, and cannabis is also seen as less harmful than some of the heavier drugs, but there is quite a large issue throughout the community at the minute.
It varies person to person. Sometimes it's an effect on the family life, health.
When they started, they don't feel like so bad, but when they are addicted, then it is being affected by the family as well.
And the social life, everything.
Things like jobs and work and studies and everything. I mean, the problem is that anything like that, it has a knock-on effect.
Because they're not themselves and they're harming their bodies and their mind.
You only go from bad to worse.
The effects on the community are many, really, from the basics of the effects of people's health from taking drugs, which has a knock-on effect for the NHS, doctors' surgeries and things like that, where people are getting further medical complications from taking drugs, but also the effects for the wider community, things like crime.
A lot of youngsters, they are not enough money to buy the cannabis or drugs.
They might break into other people's homes to fund their drug habits. They might rob people on the streets.
Some of the heavier drug users are funding their habits by committing things like burglary, shoplifting and that sort of crime. So it is really a very large problem across the whole of society.
Well, I think it would become obvious by perhaps behaviour.
They will look very tired and ragged. They will start experience very serious health problems.
If they were always either short of money or they had plenty of money and we couldn't work out where that money was coming from, that would be our obvious sign.
We really have to be aware of what's going on, and I think we really have to be sort of alert.
If you know them well enough, you will certainly get to notice any signs that aren't quite right.
The counselling or from doctors, probably they will do. I think that is the more valuable things if they're taking advice from the doctors.
You first go to their GP, local information centres and friends and family.
There are a number of ways that people who are using drugs can help themselves. Firstly, by speaking to people about it, speak to family members if they're not confident and comfortable with speaking to family members. Perhaps go and speak to a GP.
There's a lot of organisation for the drug. Say for example, is a drug awareness organisation, local GP. You can contact with the local youth worker, and they will give the proper guideline on how to seek advice for the drugs.
There are a number of groups, charities and government-led organisations that you can also get help from, which they're available on the internet. You can take a look on the internet, find things like that, or go into your doctor's surgery and your doctor will point you in the right direction as to where to get help.
Firstly, I'd try and speak to my parents about it, try and be honest and open with them, But if you can't speak to your parents about it or you find it difficult, then you can always speak to a doctor or someone at school about it, or even a website called Talk to Frank, which has a lot of information about drugs.
I did have trouble with my son. He started bringing people in, taking drugs. I think it was only weed. There was smoke in it. And I used to come home from work and the house was a mess. And he'd like a bucket, water with a bottle in it where they'd been smoking the drugs and blowing it into the water. Whether he took anything stronger, I don't know. He used to go out, never come home. And, well, he was stealing off me all the time. Jewellery and everything was going. And
I've got a son that up to the age of 12-year-old, he was a very decent lad. And when he went to secondary modern school, he started knocking about with the wrong crowd and everything just started going downhill with him. He started taking drugs. He was pinching cars, breaking into cars, and through his drug habit, he started pinching from his family. He pinched quite a few items from the house, expensive thing. And in his bedroom, he used to have a computer, television. He sold everything, all for the sake of drugs. And he just got out of hand, and I got the social workers involved, but it got that way that I couldn't cope with him because he was taking that much stuff from the property. So we had him put in an home for a bit, but that just went worse with him because they was letting him roam the streets at night. They even gave him a bus pass. And things got out of hand, and when he reached the age of 15, up to 18, he was in and out of young offenders. And at the end, he went in to a young offenders. I phoned the wife at night because I was a lorry driver, and she phoned up and told me that he'd murdered a lad in prison. And I was absolutely devastated. My life just collapsed.
ড্রাগের সমস্যা হইল ইংল্যান্ডর প্রত্যেকটা মানুষের লাগি ছেলে মেয়ের লাগি বহুত বড় একটা সমস্যা এই ড্রাগে মানুষে ছেলে মেয়েরে নষ্ট করিলায়
Drugs and alcohol not only destroys yourself, but it also destroys your entire family as well. So stay away from drugs and alcohol. It's one of the worst things that can ever happen to your life and to the lives of the people around you. And as Allah says in the Holy Quran, Ya alladhina amanu, O you who believe, innamal khamr wal maisir wal ansab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the khamr, the intoxicants, which also includes the drugs in there as well. To rijsu min amali shaitan, that's abstain from them, they are the handiwork of the devil.
অনতিবিলম্বে এই যুব সমাজকে যদি ড্রাগ থেকে ফিরিয়ে আনা না যায় তাহলে আমাদের সমাজের পতন অনিবার্য।
এই যে ড্রাগ খাওয়া, ড্রাগ সেলিং করা এটা হারাম। আর হাদিস শরীফে আল্লাহর নবী মুহাম্মদ মুস্তাফা সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লাম ফরমাইছেন কুল্লু মুসকিরিন হারাম, প্রত্যেক নেশাযুক্ত জিনিস হারাম। আর এই ড্রাগটা হলো নেশাযুক্ত, এটা মানুষের হেলথ নষ্ট করে এবং তার জীবন নষ্ট করে, ইভেন হে মরার পরে তো জাহান্নামী হইব। সুতরাং আমরা যত ইয়ং স্টার হল আছেন সকলের কাছে আমার আবেদন, আপনারা এই মহামারী ড্রাগটাকে বাঁচিয়ে থাকুকা।
The community can help in many ways. If you see something that you believe to be drug dealing or something drug related, there are ways that you can report that. You can report it through the confidential telephone line or directly to the police themselves, basically to make us aware so we can try and solve that issue. As far as drug use go, if you think you've got a family member or a member that you know in the community that is having problems with drugs, perhaps talk to them or try and help them and point them in the right direction so they can try and get themselves some help. Projects just like the Just Health Awareness projects, which are community projects, obviously trying to help the community if you can be directed towards that or take a look at that, that could be something that could help you. And obviously in the wider field, we need to look as a whole at trying to reduce the drugs that are coming into the country and try and stop things like that causing a problem for everybody, really.
I believe if our community peoples are awareness, and we could improve these things, and we can reduce the drug addiction in around this area.
আজকের দিনে ড্রাগ একটি মারাত্মক সমস্যা হয়ে দাঁড়িয়েছে আমাদের সমাজে। আমরা আশা করব আমাদের এই প্রজেক্ট থেকে আমাদের কমিউনিটি উপকৃত হবে, এটা আমাদের বিশ্বাস।